Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. My name is Crown and today we are going to have some more stories that I hope that you will enjoy. But before we start, it will be so much appreciated if you would subscribe to the channel, like the video if you enjoyed it, and maybe leave a comment down below. These simple clicks would mean a lot to the future of this channel and really reward the effort that I put in every day. And now, without further ado, let's go! First story. Entitled mother pushes me out of the subway. My previous job was on the other side of my old home city, so I had to take the subway, which can be quite full between 6 AM and 9 AM and 2 PM and 5 PM. So it was when I just wanted to get home. After the first sub was full as a tuna can, the second sub had a little space. Next to me a mother with a double buggy. When I wanted to get into the train, the entitled mother was running as hell to the door, squeezing into the train, literally pushing me out of the doorway. I tell her, "Hey, I also just want to get home," holding open the door. "Me and my kids also want to go home. So no reason to push me out of the doorway then." The train driver says, "Please do not block the doors." Me trying to get into the subway, she tells me, "I don't want you to take the subway." Then she starts pushing me out again, making me fall on the ground. The doors closed and the subway rolled away. The entitled mother made some idiotic gestures and shows me her fingers out the open window. Slowly standing up, I felt a slight bleeding wound on my head. The entitled mother also managed to break my phone with this action, so I could not call the police. At this moment, I met a friendly old lady and a security guard. She asks me, "Are you okay? Do you need an ambulance? For this little blood? Nah, I'm okay, thanks. It was just a small wound." Then the security guard's radio goes, "Roger. Twin buggy escort, got her." Then the security guard tells me, "Please take the next train to the next station and visit the security officer there." I thanked the old lady and the security guard, and the next subway arrived and 20 minutes later I sat next to the entitled mother. The other security guard was writing a report about my statement I just gave. He took photos from my broken phone, took a look at my meanwhile dried wound and showed us the CCTV records from inside the train and the station, where you can clearly see the whole situation. The incident was reported to the police and the entitled mother had to pay for my new phone. As well, the security guard found out the entitled mother was taking the train without a valid ticket, which cost another 60 euros. Also, the entitled mother is not allowed to be closer to me than 5 meters. Every time I saw the entitled mother, she glanced at me like, "Shut the hell up, you piece of trash." She also used another wagon, and I also still have contact to the friendly old lady since she lives near my new home. She bakes excellent cakes. Next story. Entitled grandmother pulls my hair and tries to kick me off the bus for my keys. Now for some context. I'm a 5 feet 18-year-old Asian girl. I don't look like 18. The amount of times I've been asked for ID for horror films. In previous relationships, I was badly abused, so I don't like confrontation at all, and as a result, I get scared extremely easy. The severity of my PTSD episodes or anxiety attacks ranges depending on the situation itself, but normally I carry around a plushie of Spider-Man or Groot, as they were gifts from my baby cousin/godson and have a strong emotional connection towards them. It just so happened I'd forgotten to bring them today. My boyfriend also writes lovely short stories for me to help me as I have a very active imagination. The cast: me, the entitled woman aka Umbridge, not so entitled kid Harry, entitled teen Draco, cool bus driver Hagrid, music man Ron, and nice mother Lily. And now the story. So I just finished college for the day, UK college, and I was already having a rough day as I've been assessed on a play about domestic violence and had to be shoved around for the performance. Honestly, I just wanted to read my book, so I sat towards the back of the bus as I always do, as it's just well ventilated. Anyway, I sat with Music Man Ron, who at the time hadn't noticed me. Our man was just jamming out to Eminem. I look up and there come 3 people who take the seats behind me. I wasn't at the back with the 5 seats, rather the one in front. Due to COVID, we also have little markers spacing out seats for social distance. I get a tap on my shoulder and turn to see Harry smiling at me. He didn't have a mask since he was under the age requirement to wear one. However, his brother Draco was well over, possibly 16 to 17, and was not wearing a mask. I assume he was exempt. I should mention I was wearing a black dress, black shirt, skin-colored tights, trench coat and boots as like I said, I had an assessment that day. "Excuse me, miss." "Hello there. Can I help you with something, little man?"
I just wanted to say your keys are really cool. Where did you get them?
"Oh, thank you. I got them from a friend as a gift from Comic-Con a few years ago." This caught the attention of Draco, who just laughed and scoffed.
What? You mean to say you're a nerd loser? Come on, only ugly girls are nerd losers since they can't get a man. You certainly aren't ugly, so you can't be a nerd.
I mean, I know this was somewhat of a compliment, but what the hell? Who says that? Well, not that it's any of your business, but I'm actually a fan of all animated books and shows. My mother is Japanese and I love Japanese manga. And this is where Umbridge bitched in.
Excuse me?
I actually flinched at how loud she was. Like great Scott, you could hear her from Mars. The passengers glanced at the scene but didn't pay too much attention. Yes, is something wrong? At this point, my leg was slightly shaken but nothing too crazy.
How dare you speak of your disgusting culture in front of my grandchildren? Are you trying to turn them into a very offensive xenophobic slur?
She was practically leaning over to yell in my face. She sat in the middle of Draco and Harry. "I'm sorry, I don't understand."
You're pushing your dumb culture.
Then she calls me with another offensive slur.
I will not tolerate this. Your generation has already missed everything.
Now I began to tear up and my shaking became worse. I couldn't find any words to say. At this point, the other passengers had turned around and watched the scene unfold. "Nana, leave her alone. Please. She's just..."
Shut up, Harry. This cow deserves it. Unless she could come home with me and I'd show her she's just as delusional as Nana says, as she's too pretty to be an Asian nerd.
This absolutely disgusted me. I wished so badly that I could have come up with some sarcastic or witty comment and defended myself. But sadly I didn't. I just kept shaking and fumbling for words. I did manage a shaky "please leave me alone," but this somehow enraged Umbridge even more.
What did you say, you filthy, disrespectful little brat? Not only are you disgusting but also disrespectful to elders?
She was full on my face.
Driver, I demand you throw this disrespectful little slur off the bus now.
We'd stopped at a bus stop at this point in front of the local hospital, so she grabbed my hair and dragged me to the front of the bus. I was screaming at this point in fear. Hair pulling doesn't hurt me, so it was just pure fear. However, my episode was just getting worse. At this point, Music Man Ron gets up and rushes over to me. "Damn it, woman. How bloody dare you?" He was yelling too, so my shaking got worse and worse. I burst out sobbing and a cool driver Hagrid burst out of his little booth singing and knelt beside me. I just shut my eyes and shakily covered my ears in hopes it would stop since I didn't have my plushies to hug for comfort. Now the rest of this was told to me by Ron and a driver since I blacked out. I could feel something kick my leg though, since it wasn't as bad at blackout as me being completely numb. Good old Draco had apparently kicked me, which explains the bruise on my leg. Also, Umbridge was apparently screaming at me to get up and listen to your elders, and the conversation went like this, so I'm told. "Nana, please, she's scared. Let's just go home."
No, this girl must be kicked off and realize how disgusting she is.
"Ma'am, I have to ask you to leave this bus and we'll be issuing a permanent ban from this bus company and other local companies.
No, you can't do that. This is my only way to and from town.
Well, you should have thought of that before you assaulted this girl, you knob goblin. Best insult I've ever heard. I cannot tell you how funny I found that when I calmed down and the driver told me what Ron said.
Excuse me? Driver, kick him off too.
Ma'am, I will be calling the police. And if this girl for whatever reason doesn't press charges, you can rest a damn sure that I will for her. The bus driver was apparently red as a tomato in anger according to Ron, and he locked the bus doors so that Umbridge would stay there until the police arrived. Nothing can justify this physical or verbal assault. Young man, call the police and make sure she's okay. Do you have any water? I've heard that helps. When I regained my senses, I saw that Harry was with much a younger and friendlier woman, Lily. Is that the girl, Harry? Yes, mommy. Lily rushed over to me and Harry in tow. Are you alright, miss? The driver explained everything to me. I'm so sorry for my mother's behavior. Harry was quick to hug me. Poor boy was sobbing and kept hugging me. I was still pretty shaky, so I flinched a little and hugged back. The bus driver, however, is pressing charges on my behalf, but not for my behalf at the same time. That makes no sense, but that's the only way I know how to describe it, since legal terms go over my head. I'm okay now, I'm safe at home. My auntie picked me up and drove me home. Honestly, she was just glad I was alright. I'm still recovering. Umbridge and Draco got arrested and I gave my statement of what I could remember. The driver also told me that he had it all on the bus CCTV cameras, which I honestly did not know they had. Oh, and the ironic part? Umbridge's daughter is married to a Japanese man. Next story. Revenge in the making against the ex. This is a story of my friend Fred. He'd been married for 20 years, takes wife to anniversary dinner at an upscale restaurant whereupon she informs him she wants a divorce. This was typical behavior for her. Instead of waiting for a more appropriate time to break the news, she decided to do it in the middle of the fancy dinner where lots of people would witness Fred's dismay and embarrassment. Always lots of drama with her. A self-entitled spoiled witch. Fred took it rather well, all things considered. They weren't getting along and found out later she was having an affair. He did multiple things to attempt to make the divorce easy, including creating a complete itemized inventory list of all the belongings. Made her a copy and asked that she check off what she wanted. It started out acrimonious, but it soon became the divorce from hell. Her demands became more and more ludicrous, and the attorney fees kept increasing. So he eventually caved in and agreed to her every demand. Fast forward about 18 months later, the divorce is finalized. During this time, Fred has met another woman. They get married shortly after the divorce is done. The ex-wife shows up one day and is in tears. The man who she left Fred for has dumped her. Fred and his new wife are gracious and console her. Fred is a nice guy and is polite during this, but he's still harboring a lot of resentment. This starts a weird relationship. The ex-wife starts calling Fred and the new wife just to talk and would even drop by on occasion. During one phone call in which she asks to borrow some money, Fred brings up the funeral plots he had purchased when they were married, and he offers to buy her plot instead of loaning her money. He knew she'd never pay it back anyway. She agrees, but demands a crazy number, 20 grand. Can't remember exactly. And Fred is livid. He's had enough of her. Cue the revenge. Fred stood on this for a while, and then a fortuitous opportunity came along. The stepfather of the ex-wife died unexpectedly. The ex despised him and had nothing to do with the man. He divorced her mother years ago. Fred liked him though. Even went to the funeral. When speaking with the other family members, he learned that there were no pre-planned funeral arrangements and money was tight. Fred stepped up and donated his funeral plot for the burial. This is a plot that is beside her funeral plot, the one she wanted to sell to Fred, which he already paid for. She refused to attend the funeral, so she doesn't yet know about Fred's generosity. Now it's a waiting game. One day she'll find out. Fred grins like a baby every time he tells of his deeds. Next story. Revenge on trespassing hunters. My parents purchased 6 acres of farmland back in the early 70s. They had built a house at the front of the lot and had started to plan construction of a small barn further back when fall came. One day my mother comes running into the house yelling about a bunch of crazy people riding snowmobiles and carrying guns through the backyard. Right up next to the house near where a toddler, me, was playing. Dad comes out and the hunters insist that they have always come this way. What's the big deal? Dad explained that this is no longer farmland, duh, and that they need to find a different route. And they say, no way, see you tomorrow. And they drive off. This repeats for several days. My dad, who does not suffer fools lightly, proceeds to dig out a deep, narrow trench across a good part of the edge of the property with a backhoe. He then hauls every bit of the summer-ripened manure pile from his 4 dogs from the foot of the property to fill the trench. Dead leaves and a decent dusting of snow camouflage the hazard. The next morning, the snowmobilers come roaring over the property line and slam headfirst into the trench, leaving their snowmobiles vertical, well and truly stuck. Plus, of course, everyone and everything is covered in rotting dog poo. My dad stood by watching, coffee and his own trusting rifle in hand, while filthy, smelly snowmobiles were winched out of the trench by filthy, smelly snowmobilers. Unsurprisingly, the hunters did find a different way to their hunting grounds after that incident. And now we have reached the end of today's stories. Thank you for watching and see you next time.